The road that led us home. Act 1. The village, the love, and the first shadows. Begin reading slow, warm tone. Let silence breathe between lines. In a small village where the red earth met the slow-moving Niger River, life moved with the pace of sunlight, unhurried, steady, gentle. The houses were simple, built of clay and love. Palm trees swayed in the afternoon wind. Children ran barefoot, laughing with dust on their feet and joy in their hearts. And in one of these humble homes lived Ade and Sade. They were young. They were in love. And to them, love was enough. The villagers remembered their wedding day. How Sade's smile shone brighter than the sun. How Ade held her hand as if it were the most precious thing on earth. Those who saw them said, "Ah, these two, they are one heart in two bodies." But life is not storybook. Life is seasons, rainy seasons and dry seasons. And sometimes, the dry season lingers too long. Daily life. Each morning, Ade walked to the fields before the sun was fully risen. He worked with the other men, bending his back to the soil, hoping the harvest would be good this year. Sade walked to the market, carrying a woven basket filled with chin-chin and roasted ground nuts. She greeted everyone with warmth, the kind that makes tired hearts feel light. They lived simply. A clay house, a straw mat, a shared bowl of stew. But joy lived there. Joy in their laughter. Joy in the way Ade brushed dust off Sade's cheek. Joy in the way Sade placed a hand on Ade's shoulder when he came home tired. Their love was small, but it was full. The first shadow. But that year, the rains did not come on time. The fields dried. The crops failed. The village grew quiet, the kind of quiet that happens when stomachs are empty and hope grows thin. Ade came home one evening with dirt on his hands and dust in his spirit. He sat down slowly. His voice was a whisper. "Ade, there was no harvest today." Sade's heart tightened not for herself, but for him. She touched his cheek gently. "Sade, then we will eat little, but we will eat it together." Ade tried to smile, but inside him, a seed of fear was planted. What if I cannot provide? In many places, love is measured by words. But in Nigeria, love is measured by responsibility. The meal that changed everything. One morning, Sade went to prepare breakfast. But when she opened the small food basket, there was almost nothing left. A handful of gari. Half a piece of dried fish. That was all. She stared at it, and her eyes filled. But she did not cry. Women like Sade did not break easily. She cooked the little gari with care, adding water slowly, trying to make it seem more than it was. When Ade returned, tired and silent, she set the bowl before him. "Sade, eat, I already have." But her stomach was empty. Ade ate slowly, smiling at her, thinking she had eaten too. That night, he woke and found her sitting outside, holding her stomach, breathing through hunger. "Ade, Sade, you lied to me." Her eyes were calm, strong like the moon. "Sade, you needed the food more than I did." Ade felt something inside him break. Not his pride, but his heart. He pulled her close. Their tears finally fell together. Narrator soft, slow. And that night, a fear grew quietly between them. Not fear of poverty, but fear of what poverty could do to love. The soil of hardship was now fertile. Something deeper was about to grow. This was not the end of love, but the beginning of a journey that would test its roots. Act 2. When love feels heavy. Soft background, crickets at night, distant village drums, slow breeze. Days began to blur into each other. The sun rose. Ade went to the fields. Sade went to the market. They returned home tired. They slept hungry. They woke up still hungry. At first, they held each other every night. Two hearts sharing one hope. But hunger does not only empty the stomach. It begins to empty the spirit if left too long. The first fractures. One evening, Ade walked into the house to find Sade sitting quietly on the mat, staring at nothing. He sat beside her. Ade. You were thinking again. She didn't look at him. Sade. I am trying not to. Ade reached for her hand. But it felt lighter than he remembered. They sat together, but it no longer felt like togetherness. It felt like two people trying not to fall apart. The silence between them changed. It was no longer gentle. It was heavy. The argument. One night, Sade returned from the market with almost nothing sold. Ade was already sitting there, frustrated from another day of failed work. Ade, tense. You didn't sell enough again? Sade, hurt. Do you think I enjoy standing in the sun with nothing to show for it? Ade sighed, pressing his palms to his face. Ade. I am trying, Sade. I am trying so hard. Sade, voice shaking. And you think I'm not? Silence. Sharp. Cold. Ade stood. Sade stood too, not to fight, but because her body was trembling. Then her knees weakened. She almost fell. Ade caught her before she hit the ground. Her voice was a whisper, full of exhaustion. Sade. I am tired, Ade, not of loving you, but of starving with you. Ade's eyes filled. Not with anger. With helplessness. Night of truth. That night, Ade could not sleep. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of every failure, every empty plate, every sacrifice Sade had silently made. He remembered how she used to laugh, how her voice used to sing while grinding spices, how her steps used to be light. Now she moved like a candle burning low. Ade finally understood. Love was not the problem. Poverty was the enemy. He rose before sunrise. He walked to the riverbank alone. The wind was cold. The water moved slowly. He whispered, Ade, praying. God, give me away. I am losing her. And I am losing myself. The decision. The next day, a traveler came through the village and spoke of work in Kaduna, hard labor, long hours, months away from home, but paid. Ade listened. Silently? Steadily. When he returned home that night, he sat beside Said, and for a long time they said nothing. Then finally, Ade. I think I must go. Sade's breath caught. Not because she didn't expect it, but because she did. Her voice was soft, fragile, but strong at the same time. Sade. If leaving is what will keep us alive, then I will not stop you. Their fingers touched. Not tightly, but carefully, like two hands trying to remember how to hold each other. The decision was made. But love knew. There are journeys that test the heart more than hunger ever could. Narrator slow warm. And so, the season of sacrifice began. Not just hunger now, but distance. The kind that stretches across land and into the soul. Their love was strong, but the road ahead would ask, is love strong enough to wait? Act 3. The distance between two hearts. Soft background, distant wind, slow drum heartbeat, night insects. The morning Ade was to leave, the village was still dark. Not even the roosters had begun to call. Only the moon watched. Sade stood by the door, her arms wrapped around herself, as though holding in the cold and the ache. Ade tied the small cloth she had woven around his wrist. It was not grand. It was not gold. But it was home. Ade voice low. This is not goodbye. Sade nodded, though tears filled her eyes. Sade, I know. Just come back whole. Ade lifted his bag. The road stretched ahead, empty and long toward Kaduna. He walked. Sade watched. And the distance began, one step at a time. The journey. The road to Kaduna was harsh. Dust rose beneath heavy footsteps. The sun burned mercilessly. Travelers sang old songs to distract themselves from hunger and distance. Ade walked with them, but his mind was always home. Every rhythm of his feet echoed. Sade, Sade, Sade. Some nights he slept under the open sky. Some nights in strangers' compounds. Sometimes just on the earth itself. But always he held the cloth on his wrist. It smelled faintly of palm oil, shea butter, and the warmth of their home. It gave him strength. Kaduna, a different world. When Ade arrived in Kaduna, the world felt louder, faster, sharper. The streets bustled. Men shouted for work. Women bargained in voices strong and urgent. Machines clanged. Money moved. Lives moved. But Ade moved slowly, as though part of him was missing. Work was found hard work, carrying bricks, digging foundations, loading timber in the heat. His hands blistered. His back burned. His muscles trembled. But every time he almost broke, he looked at the cloth on his wrist and whispered, "For Sade." Loneliness. At night, when the city quieted and the workers slept side by side on their mats, Ade lay awake. Homesickness was not a thought. It was a weight in his chest. He remembered the sound of Sade grinding spices, the smell of her hair after she washed it in river water, the way she hummed when she didn't know she was humming. In Kaduna, no one hummed. Ade's tears were silent, quiet like a man's suffering often is. Sade alone. Back in the village, Sade lived in a house that felt bigger now. Not because it was large, but because it was empty. The nights were the hardest. She would sit outside, watching fireflies blink and fade, wishing Ade could sit beside her again, even in silence. In the market, she still smiled, but her smiles were thinner now. Neighbors noticed. Some whispered kindly, "Love is hard, but she is strong." Some whispered cruelly, "A woman alone becomes vulnerable." Whispers have no legs, but they travel far. The letters. Ade began writing letters, slow and careful by lantern light. "My beloved Sade, here the days are long, but your love stretches further." Sade would hold the letters to her chest, reading them again and again, until the ink felt like Ade's voice in her ears. Sometimes she would whisper back, though there was no one to hear, "I am waiting," but waiting is heavy. The distance was not only land, it was longing. It was missing. It was endurance. Narrator slow, quiet. This was not hunger anymore. This was the test of the heart's patience. Love had not broken, but it had begun to ache, deeply, quietly, constantly, like a drumbeat beneath the ribs. And in that softness, in that fragile space between devotion and loneliness. Temptation would soon arrive. Act 4. Temptation, Rumor, and the Test of Love. Background. Distant market chatter fading slowly. Warm wind, quiet tension. Time passes differently when you are waiting. For Ade, the days in Kaduna grew longer. For Said, the nights in the village grew colder. She still rose early. She still walked to the market. She still sold chin-chin and roasted groundnuts. But now, she did it alone. And people talk when they see a woman alone. Not because they know anything, but because they need something to say. At first, it was curiosity. Said is strong. Sade is holding the home. Then it changed. How long will she wait? No husband returns the same. A woman cannot live on loyalty alone. Rumors are like smoke. They don't need fire, just wind. The return of Chief Bamidele. One afternoon, as Sade arranged her chin-chin in small piles, a familiar shadow fell across the table. A polished shoe, a gold ring, a scent of cologne too heavy for the village air. Chief Bamidele. He smiled, not kindly, but confidently. Chief. Sade, you look tired. This life is too heavy for a woman like you. Sade's jaw tightened. Sade. I am fine. Chief, soft chuckle. Are you? The world can be softer, warmer, easier, if you allow it to be. He placed a velvet pouch on her table, heavy with money. Villagers watched. Silence spread like oil on water. Sade's breath trembled, but her eyes were steady. She pushed the pouch back toward him. Sade, I will not trade loyalty for comfort. Even hunger has dignity. Chief's smile dissolved. His pride bruised. He left. But the whispers stayed. Whispers grow teeth. The market women began to talk louder now. She refused? That is foolish. Or maybe she did not refuse. No one knows. Who can say what happens in private? The words slithered through the village like snakes. Sade heard them. She kept her back straight. But every whisper felt like a needle. Ade hears the rumors. Back in Kaduna, letters reached slowly. But rumors? Rumors travel fast. One evening, another worker sat beside Ade. Worker, I heard from your village. A rich man visits your wife. Ade froze. His heart stuttered. The worker shrugged. Casual, careless. Worker, women do not wait forever. Ade said nothing. But inside him, something cracked. Not trust in Sade, but trust in himself. Was he enough? Could love survive distance? Was sacrifice making him stronger, or slowly destroying everything he loved? That night, Ade did not sleep. He gripped the cloth on his wrist so tightly, it left marks on his skin. Sade alone in the storm. Back in the village, rain finally came. Hard, heavy, cleansing rain. Sade stood outside, letting the rain soak her hair, her clothes, her skin. She cried, for the first time since Ade left. Not because she doubted him, but because the world was heavy. She whispered into the rain. Sade, God, give me the strength to hold what I love. Her tears mixed with the rain, and no one could tell the difference. Narrator, long pause, soft. This is the part of love no song sings about. The part where the heart waits, hurts, and still stays. The true test of love is not desire, not passion, not even faith. It is endurance, and endurance has a cost. The storm was not over. It was only gathering. Act 5. The Edge of Loss. Background: low wind, distant thunder, slow heartbeat drum. The rainy season came heavy that year, heavy enough to bend trees, to flood pathways, to make the village sky bruised with clouds. Sade was thinner now. Too thin. Her cheekbones were sharp. Her steps slower. Her smile still gentle. But there was a trembling beneath it. Still, she worked. She woke before sunrise. She baked chin-chin over coal heat. She walked to the market barefoot. She waited for coins worn smooth from passing hands. She waited for Ade, the collapse pace. One afternoon, as the heat pressed down like a hand, Sade's vision blurred. The voices of the market stretched and swam. She swayed. Someone called her name far, far away. And then she fell. The chin-chin scattered across the ground like small broken stars. SFX, gasps, running footsteps, voices overlapping. Villagers gathered, lifting her gently. Neighbor woman, she has worked too hard. Another, no, she has eaten too little. They carried her to the healer's home. A quiet clay room filled with herbs, smoke, and old prayers. She lay still, breathing shallow. Her wrists were thin as reeds, her lips pale, her body exhausted from survival. The healer looked at her gently and said, "Healer, this is what sacrifice looks like when it goes too far." The message sent to Kaduna. A young boy was sent to deliver the message to Ade. The journey was long. The rain was harsh. But the boy ran, because he knew love was waiting. Ade receives the news. Ade was carrying heavy timber when the boy found him. SFX, rain, exhausted breathing. Boy, panting. It is Sade. She has fallen. She is very weak. Everything in Ade stopped. The world blurred. The sounds faded. The weight in his hands fell to the ground. He didn't speak. He ran. He ran through rain, through mud, through exhaustion. His feet blistered. His breath tore his chest. But he did not stop. Because love does not stop when the body breaks. Only when the heart breaks. And Ade's heart was still beating. For her. The return. When Ade reached the village, the sky was dark. He ran into the healer's house. Sade lay on a mat still, small, fragile. Ade fell to his knees beside her. His voice cracked open, raw, desperate. Ade, Sade, I am here. I am here. Come back to me. Sade's eyelids fluttered. Her voice was a whisper thin as air. Sade, Ade, I waited. A tear slipped down Ade's cheek. Not of sorrow, but of awe. He took her hand, weightless as a bird's wing, and pressed it to his face. Ade, I left to save us, and I almost lost you. Sade breathed slowly, painfully, but her eyes were soft. Sade, love is not leaving to save. Love is staying to carry. Ade bowed his head to her hand, as though it were sacred. Because it was. Because she was. Narrator, pause, then speak softly. Every love story reaches a moment where something must break. Either the love or the pride. And this was the moment. Ade's pride broke, and love remained. Act 6. The Return to Wholeness. Background: soft morning birds, gentle river flow, warm breeze. Sad did not recover in one day. Healing is never sudden. Healing is a slow returning, a slow remembering, a slow rising. For days, Ade stayed beside her. He fed her with his own hands. He washed her face with warm cloths. He whispered stories while she rested. Stories of when they first fell in love. Stories of better days. Stories of the days still to come. He worked in the fields again, but not alone. Neighbors came. Brothers came. Old friends came. Because when a man is humble enough to ask for help, the village remembers that we rise together, and the same voices that once whispered rumors now spoke prayers. God keep them. Their love is strong. This home will know joy again. Even Chief Bamidele, from a distance, watched. And for the first time, perhaps, he understood that wealth is not power. If one has no one to come home to. Sade's healing. Sade sat by the doorway each morning, wrapped in a soft cloth, watching the sun rise and the birds fly low over the fields. Her body was weak, but her spirit, it was glowing now. Ade would kneel beside her and say, "Ade," softly, "I am not leaving again." And she would smile, slow and small. "Sade, we will build here, even if it is stone by stone." The new beginning. The fields recovered with the return of the rains. The soil softened. The crops grew. Sade returned to the market not as a weary woman, but as a woman who survived. Her chin-chin tasted different now. Not sweeter, but stronger. Like something made from the hands of someone who knows what endurance means. Ade found work nearby, and though the pay was still small, every coin was shared. Every meal was shared. Every burden was shared. They began to laugh again. Not the laughter of innocence, but the laughter of people who have known sorrow and still choose joy. Final narration, slow, warm. Love is not proven in easy seasons. Love is proven when the rains do not come, when the food runs low, when the nights are long, when the heart is tired. Love is not the moment you say, "I love you." Love is the moment you say, "I am staying." This is the love of Africa, the love of our mothers and fathers, the love that bends but does not break, the love that leaves, the love that starves but still chooses loyalty. Final lesson for the heart: true love is not found. True love is built. One sacrifice, one forgiveness, one promise at a time. And when two hearts choose each other again and again, that is home. That is strength. That is Africa.